Hello and welcome to Why Can't My Students Write? One of the SLCC Writing Across the College mini videos. These short videos introduce you to important issues relevant to student writing and learning. They simply ask you to think about these issues and consider how you engage with them in your teaching. Nothing more, nothing less. Almost all faculty at SLCC assign writing to their students. And almost all faculty, at some point or another, feel frustrated at the quality of writing that their students seem capable of producing. This is nothing special to SLCC. Laments about student writing encompass all educational institutions and have gone on for years upon years, decades upon decades. Actually, they've been going on for centuries. In A Sense of Style, The Thinking Person's Guide to Writing in the 21st Century, linguist Steven Pinker notes that as people age, they confuse changes in themselves with changes in the world, and changes in the world with moral decline, the illusion of the good old days. And so every generation believes that the kids today are degrading the language and taking civilization down with it. He then shares findings from H.A. Daniels' 1983 book, Famous Last Words, The American Language Crisis Reconsidered, a few of which are reproduced here. From 1961, recent graduates, including those with university degrees, seem to have no master of the language at all. They cannot construct a simple declarative sentence, either orally or in writing. From 1889, the vocabularies of the majority of high school pupils are amazingly small. I always try to use simple English, and yet I have talked to classes when quite a minority of the pupils did not comprehend more than half of what I said. From 1785, our language, English, is degenerating very fast. I begin to fear that it will be impossible to check it. Even though concern for the degradation of written or spoken language is nothing new, student writing will most likely become a point of frustration or disappointment if you teach for long enough. Having these feelings is likely a natural response to the cyclical nature of teaching. Semester after semester, we begin with new hope for our students. Perhaps this time will be better. Perhaps students will be better prepared. Maybe they'll be better writers. And then they're not. As time goes on, we believe that they're actually getting worse. How do you respond to this recurring disappointment? How does it impact you, and by extension, your students? If it motivates you to look at how you are approaching writing assignments in your classroom, good for you. The Writing Across the College director is always open to talk with you about student writing and to collaborate to find strategies that will work for you. There's not a single answer or approach that will fit everyone, so finding your own best pathways to success is a great idea. On the other hand, if you're to the point that you're getting angry at student writing, or are so frustrated you are becoming apathetic, or are making jokes about it on social media, or have become downright resentful, it might be useful to take a moment to examine your expectations. There are many theories about why student writing seems to always be getting worse, notwithstanding the generational changes that Pinker shares. The most recent slew of news items suggest that digital lifestyles are adversely impacting the quality of student writing, that K-12 schools are not preparing students to write for college, or perhaps that students just don't care. All of these are probably a little bit true, but they're also not the whole picture. Let's take a look at them in turn. First, has the digital revolution caused the decline of student writing? Everyone has heard the stories of student writing essays in text language. It's something that we can all rally behind with disdain. But how true is it really? How frequently do your students submit writing assignments with LOL or IMHO in them? Maybe they have sent you an email with some acronyms that you have to decipher, but it's an absolute rarity for students to submit formal pieces of writing with such inappropriate inclusions. The issue may lie more with students not knowing how to navigate skillfully amongst a variety of types of writing, or genres, or for different audiences. The primary complaint from teachers and employers is that email writing is awful, impenetrable, disrespectful, and messy. This is not an inability to write, however. It's simply not paying attention to the audience or purpose of the email. Email is a very slippery genre, meaning that it slides amongst the worlds of personal and professional writing, is considered both permanent and temporary, can be prepared in advance or drafted immediately. The complexity of email affects most writers, even those who are skilled with and thoughtful about their words. Nearly everyone has a nightmare story of an email message gone bad. The reality is that our students are writing more now, at this time in history, than people have ever written before. They write all day and sometimes all night. What they don't write much of is critical analyses, extended prose, or in-depth researched work. In other words, the writing that is associated with college assignments. This is due to the second concern, that K-12 schools are not preparing students for college writing. The grain of truth here is that for many years, K-12 writing instruction was focused more on getting students to express themselves and less on analytical forms of writing. That is changing with the implementation of the Common Core standards, which focus heavily on informational, analytic, and argumentative prose, and on using evidence. These standards, however, are simply that. They do not provide guidance or support for teachers to teach students to meet those standards. Additionally, most of the required writing is not long form, as it is aimed at meeting standardized testing requirements, which are typically immediate writing, wherein a student is given a prompt and must respond to it within a short time frame. Add to that the sheer numbers of students that K-12 teachers are responsible for, and you'll get why students are not prepared to write at a college level. A typical language arts high school teacher in the Granite School District teaches more than 200 students at a time. With so many students, it is not possible to do much long-form writing practice. The Chronicle of Higher Education reports that 61% of high school teachers said that their students did not write papers longer than 5 pages. With funding for education continuing its slow drip decline, we shouldn't look for this to change. In the end, our students write. They write a lot, but they don't do or haven't yet done a lot of in-depth academic writing. To make the situation more challenging, many students who come to SLCC are not coming straight out of high school. In fact, 78% of students come to SLCC after they have been out of school for a while. Further, 56% are first-generation students. While we may have some students who feel right at home and like they belong in an academic environment, most do not. Many SLCC students may not have excelled in high school for any number of reasons. One can assume that writing was one of those challenges. The reality is that the great majority of our students learn to write in college. If we think of it, that's where most of us learn to write, unless we learn to write on the job. Faculty who carry with them a nostalgia about writing well in college probably had positive writing experiences in school. If they weren't naturally good at writing, they probably had instructors who spent a lot of time providing them with feedback and guidance. Even so, it can be useful to check our writing memories. A quick glance at our old freshman composition papers are a great reality check and a reminder that our writing develops as we move into advanced levels of study, into our careers, and into our professions. Students learn to write with increasing complexity in college. We learn to write, whether that means expressing ourselves, organizing our thoughts, employing strong style, carefully proofreading our sentences, when we care about doing so. When it matters what we write, we put effort into it, and we learn. Until that point, learning to write can be too hard to bother with. Very real challenges exist to limit the amount of academic writing that students do before they arrive at SLCC. If, however, we can shift our expectations from students should know how to write by the time they're in college to students learn how to write for college in college, our frustration levels will decrease. Of course, they'll never disappear completely. That's part of being a teacher. But fully accepting that our students are learning to write like college students and probably won't do so very well until they've completed 4 to 6 years of their college education, which, unfortunately, we at SLCC won't get to see, this will give us more patience and will make us better teachers. If you are interested in looking more closely at how to support student writing in your classes, consider registering for other videos and workshops through the Office for Faculty Development or contact the Writing Across the College Director at wac@slcc.edu, extension 3232, or check out the website at www.slcc.edu/WAC.